Today, I want to talk about a show that a lot of people are very passionate about, including myself, How I Met Your Mother. Now obviously, this is a very late reaction to a show that has been concluded for several years, but seeing as the show has been syndicated for online streaming by both Netflix and later Hulu, the show is still being discovered by new fans every day. I want to address the famous, or rather infamous, episode that was the season finale, and discuss while even though it has been greatly criticized by fans, it actually ended up the best way it possibly could. Also, if it's not completely obvious by the title of this video, spoilers ahead. So I think the best way to make my case for this finale is by going through where each character ended up and why it was essential that they were where they were. Let's start off with the least controversial ending of characters in the series, Marshall and Lily. I'm going to talk about them together because the show makes it pretty obvious that their character arcs are based completely on them as a couple. Their growth is reflected in their marriage and how they grew together, rather than our other protagonists as they grow as individuals. The final season shows us through a very long weekend the debate many real couples face when it comes to aspiring career goals and how to ensure both partners get the chance to achieve their dreams. Marshall is offered a judgeship in New York, while Lily has the chance to be an art consultant in Italy. This is the couple's story arc for the final season, and eventually, after Marshall discovers that Lily is pregnant, the couple does decide to move to Italy for a year. As the final episode progresses, we are told that Marshall has gone back to corporate law when they return back from Italy, and Lily is pregnant with their third child. We're also shown that Lily and Marshall are still living in the gang's original apartment, that it is becoming increasingly cramped, and they finally decide to move out, throwing a going-away party with all the gang. Once the old apartment is finally retired, it's finally announced that Marshall, after a long haul, has become a judge. And although not said in the finale, goes on to New York Supreme Court and even apparently discovers the Loch Ness Monster. Looking over where these characters ended up, there isn't too much to be unhappy with. Lily got to pursue her dreams in art, Marshall got to make a real change impacting law for the betterment of the environment, and they continued their fairy tale romance together. I think the point of their relationship, though, goes beyond just showing the audience what the ideal couple looks like and giving Ted a dream to look forward to. These characters were meant to show how you grow with someone. We got to see how Robin, Ted, and Barney grew as individuals, what their wants and needs were, how they wanted their life to be, but Marshall and Lily had to agree on what they wanted their lives to be together. And so the show shows us how to build a life with someone. The finale gives us that. The relationship they have is built through years of adjusting and fighting and changing their minds, and teaching us that our goals change, but our priorities should remain the same. Now that the easy one is out of the way, let's dive further into why the finale was so controversial. Let's talk about Robin. After spending an entire season watching all the events unfold for Robin's wedding, we are told shortly into the finale that Robin and Barney are getting divorced. Now, I can definitely see where people are coming from when just thinking about the relationship of Barney and Robin. We have spent an entire season showing the events of the wedding, and what feels like at the time convincing the audience why Barney and Robin were a good fit together. Although, if you go through the last season, there are a few small hints the writers give us that the relationship might be built on a rocky foundation. Regardless, after spending a whole season in this story arc, it's easy to feel like a huge slap in the face to the audience to end them so abruptly. But I think there's actually good reason behind the writers' decision to do this. For a 30-minute sitcom, these characters actually have surprising depth to them, and it is a credit to the writers to be able to give such meaning to these characters while maintaining the show's humor and tone. When thinking about how the writers created Robin, we have to fight a mistake which is easy to make in a sitcom, especially with its romantic theming. We can't define Robin by her relationship. The show spent the entire series consistently reminding us that, for better or worse, Robin is an extremely independent person, and that her individual goals are going to take precedent over her relationship. In fact, in the episode Doppelgangers, Robin actually makes the rare decision to put her relationship above her career, and then proceeds to watch her then-boyfriend Don take the job that she has rejected to be with him. The episode concludes with Robin expressing she feels dumb for choosing her love life over her job, and while Ted attempts to make her feel better about the decision, you can't help but feel she isn't entirely convinced. The finale stays consistent with Robin's personality. The divorce is caused by strain in their relationship, part of which being that Robin has to always travel for her job, and Barney is being dragged around like a spare piece of luggage. Now, this isn't to say her character didn't grow as a person. She realized she could be in a marriage, but there was another part to being ready for a committed relationship, and Robin states in an earlier episode when talking to Ted, it's about
timing. But timing's a bitch.
Now that we've talked about Robin, let's talk about her lovable ex-husband, Barney. Stop me if you've heard this story before. The womanizing playboy with a reckless personality, but with a heart of gold, gets changed into somebody every girl dreams of when he falls in love. Sound familiar? That story has been told 1,000 times, and clearly the writers of How I Met Your Mother wanted to try a new angle on that classic plotline. But I can understand the audience frustration. The finale shows that after divorcing Robin, Barney has gone back to his old ways and trying to sleep with every woman in New York City, and eventually knocks up a woman whose name he can't remember. Now, several writers of friend television shows will create characters like Barney to implement more of a realism aspect to their show. They are characters that don't have the happy ending people expect. Think Sean from Boy Meets World, Reba from her own show.
For you, you're all alone. Cheyenne, she's all alone.
What it appears Raj is going to be for The Big Bang Theory. These characters' love arcs don't come to a happy conclusion, giving the audience the message that not everyone has a happy ending. And we need to find value in the good things in our lives, as we are all on different paths. While I do think there is some legitimacy in this idea for Barney, I think it actually goes deeper than that. Yes, Barney didn't get to ride off into the sunset with Robin, but I would actually argue he got to do something much more meaningful. When looking back at the defining character points of Barney, you start to realize why his life ended up the way he did. With having been abandoned by his father and his bullied youth, I think it becomes clear that the most meaningful thing Barney could go through is not getting married, but having a child. He gets a chance to do what his father never did for him, which was be there for him as he grows up. Going through this will allow his character to grow so much more and actually shake some of the psychological scars from his childhood. Barney's relationship with Robin brought out a great side of him and ultimately played a part in the person he became. But seeing how important a role fatherhood played in Barney's life, his relationship with Robin would have been missing something that he really needed to help him grow as a person. Easily one of the most hated things about the season finale was the mother dying and Ted ending up with Robin. Now, some have argued that the series ended that way because the writers wrote themselves into a corner, shooting the ending season with the kids in season 2, not realizing what a fan favorite Kristen Milioti's portrayal of Tracy McConnell would be. But seeing as they shot an alternate ending of the show with the mother living, it's obvious they could have gone in a different direction if they wanted to. Obviously, some fans would prefer to just pretend that the alternate ending was the real ending and leave it at that. But again, I believe the television ending has a much truer arc to end their main character's story. It's very clear the writers had no interest in creating a clean-cut ending, and that goes for their main character as well. While it would have been great to see Barney and Robin and Lily and Marshall and Ted and Tracy all together on that porch outside that Lily daydreamed about, after spending 9 years with the characters, I can't help feeling it would have been an insult to the fans to end the series with such relatable characters in such a superficial context. We followed Ted through the long journey he took to find the mother, but the writers understood that life doesn't end at the happiest moment. Through the life of the show, we are reminded of this idea that we can't plan our life out. Circumstances are forever changing, but it's all working to get you exactly where you need to be. Tracy met Ted when she needed it the most. She was ready to start looking for her love again. Ted met Tracy at the perfect time to stop him from running away from his own problems. Life did what the show taught us it's meant to do, putting them where they needed to be at the right time. With this ending, Ted got the family he dreamed of having, Tracy was able to finally process her loss and love someone again, and when the time came, Robin was able to heal Ted's heart the same way he healed Tracy's. The ending isn't clean-cut or without sadness, but life never is. The truth is, the story goes beyond the story of how a man met his wife, but how life has a plan for us, and although we may not see where it leads or how exactly we'll get there, who we are is defined by the journey we take.